Hello everybody and welcome back to a long overdue episode of Crazy Tech Reviews Random Things. And in today's video we're going to be taking a look at some Mac floppy drives. Now, basically, this all came up about a few months ago when I went to turn on my Macintosh Plus and for some reason the floppy drive would not eject. And the Mac Plus also had some other issues at the time, like it was boot looping. And for some reason, those issues just magically disappeared. Maybe they'll come back later. But the drive itself still reads the disks. It just doesn't properly eject them like it should. So basically, I tried swapping out the little ejector mechanisms. I currently have them both removed from this drive because this one here is the original one from the Mac Plus, and it still would not do anything. I pulled these out of the actual drive mechanism to see if the motor would even spin. Took off the gears so that if it was jammed. Neither of these work at all. I don't think they're the culprit here. I think it has to do with this board directly. So in today's little quick video, we're going to be taking a look at this floppy drive here, and hopefully we'll be able to get this drive up and running again. Fortunately, I do still have one other 800K floppy drive. Now, the only issue is, and why I'm not just going to throw this one in and test it, is that this one is completely fried. Not only are both the read heads missing from this drive, but also the entire drive board just doesn't work. So what I'm hoping is that I can completely disassemble this drive and then hopefully be able to steal some of the parts from this drive and put them into here and see if that fixes it. It could also be that these drives need recapping. I have heard that some of these drives, the electrolytic capacitors will fail and you'll have to replace them. So maybe we could try that. As a matter of fact, I think I see some kind of residue here on this broken drive. So that very well could be what the issue is, but I have a feeling that it's something a little bit more complicated than just some capacitor issues. As I don't understand why that would just solidly cause this to just flat out not work. But you never know with these things. It could very well be a capacitor issue. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a look at this drive here, and we're gonna pull out the PCB, and we're going to start by probably replacing the capacitors, doing some other things. And we're just going to see if we can possibly get the eject mechanism working on this. Now, some of you might be wondering what this drive here is here for. This is a standard 1.44 megabyte super drive, floppy drive, and well, this technically isn't designed to work in the Mac Plus, and it doesn't work entirely well in it. You can still boot up a Macintosh Plus and technically use a Macintosh Plus off of one of these drives in specific. And this is how I was able to verify that it wasn't an issue with the computer, because on this drive, what do you know, I was able to boot up off this totally legit system disk here, and it ejected just fine. So I have a feeling that it's something with the PCB on here, and so that's what we're going to be checking in today's video. So with that said, hopefully by the end of this little random things video, we'll have this drive all up and running. And so yeah, let's go ahead and get started. So the first thing I'm going to try to do is start by recapping these drives. I've seen several people do this, and apparently these drives do need to be recapped. So that's the first step I'm going to try, and if not, it's still good to do anyway. And the next step I'm going to try is possibly figuring out which components typically could cause this issue, or doing some research and seeing what is, and possibly swapping out some components. I might also clean some of the grease off this PCB. There appears to be residue, probably some kind of grease or something, and a lot of dust on this, so I'm probably just going to do a full clean off and restoration to this drive as well. I mean, I might as well, I'm tearing it apart, but fortunately disassembling these drives is pretty simple. There's not really too many steps that goes into it. You basically just have to simply pop this top piece off here by removing these plastic pieces and undoing these springs, and this will simply come up, or it should. This one's being a little bit stubborn. Don't believe it's catching on anything, is it? Oh, okay. We actually do have to put it down. So see, now it just should lift right out with a bit of wiggling on there, and there we go. There's the top mechanism of the drive. We'll also go ahead and pull out this bottom sliding rail thing, which is held on by these little washers here. This is very greasy too, which is a good thing. So, yeah, this could probably do with some new grease. I don't think the grease in this drive has been replaced in a year. And while it's not really malfunctioning or anything because of it, you know, you might as well. So, all four of those are removed. I'm going to go ahead and lift this off. You can see some of that crusty grease. This drive was professionally repaired by somebody who did it. And you might remember this because I purchased this drive during my Mac Plus restoration series, which, if you haven't checked out, the quality is a little bit lower than my modern videos, but it's still watchable if you excuse the almost 1 hour second part, but whatever, big deal. The next thing I'm going to do is grab a screwdriver here, and we're going to take off, well, actually, we already took the eject mechanism off, so what do I typically remove next? Well, I guess we could go ahead and take off the left middle bracket here. So we'll do that. This video is probably going to be a bit longer than my typical Random Things episodes, and again, that's like 2 videos, so yeah. I have several other videos planned for Random Things, but I've mainly been focusing on the main channel these past few months, as I haven't really had too much time to really work on mini video projects, other than ones that I just need to get out for the main channel, so the main channel has basically taken all my attention as I'm prioritizing everything. However, now I'm basically going to be free every single day from now on out due to the fact that there is no more school, aka prison, so we're good there. So that means there will be a lot more videos coming out, hopefully both channels, the main channel and the Random Things channel. Either way, I think I'm going to go ahead and tackle, I think I'm going to remove these little ribbon cables here for the top and bottom read heads, read and write heads. Most people just refer to them as read heads, so that's what I call them. Those are now out, and we can go ahead and unscrew this. Anyway, the sensor should just come out just like that. This is what the text at the head's at track 0, I'm going to guess. Something to that effect. It's very similar to that, if not exactly that. And there are 2 screws here that will hold this track in place, or rod that holds the read head assembly, write heads, read write heads, floppy heads, I don't give a crap, it's whatever people call them. So the drive heads are held in place with this, so we'll go ahead and take that out. And then we should just be able to lift up like so and pull back, and the heads are now separated. And damn, this drive needs to be cleaned really bad. So, yeah, that's going to have to happen. Okay, next order of business, remove the stepper motor. This should be fairly simple to do. It's just a screw here and a screw on the other side behind this metal piece. So, both screws of this are removed, and this should just lift right up like so, and there's a little header on the board for it. This fortunately does work just fine, which is the only reason I'm not just going to replace the entire board. But some of these headers actually look to be twisted. I don't think the header is the problem. You know what? Now that I say that, not sure how well that shows up on camera, but I think one of those pins is cracked right there. Can you see it? That very well could be the problem, as guess what that's on? The motor header. So very well, it could be a cracked solder joint, which, considering it's in a plus, is by no means a surprise to me at all, period. So I very well think that's our issue, but you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to continue taking this right on apart because I kind of have no choice, because I really want to clean that board. There really isn't too much really that goes on underneath the motor, but looking in there, there appears to be like some kind of mothball or some little dust bunny thing in there. I bet you what this is probably all of the dust that was spun around in this motor into a little ball. It weaved itself into a little ball here. It's kind of deformed now, but whatever. That's the only theory I have to what could have caused this, because there's no way that really any insect or anything could have gotten into this area, and no way that that could have been the case, and there would have been probably a dead body in there. So that's probably what caused that. But this board, on the other hand, if we move over to this is pretty gross if you look here. So there's a lot of dust everywhere. There's grease, there's oily crap. It's kind of gross. So I think the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to hit this board up with some isopropyl alcohol, and yeah, we'll do that real quick. Just going to drop some on these trouble areas, whatever, I don't know. And we're just going to smear this around with a Q-tip. Looks like there's a capacitor that's supposed to go there in some board revisions. It looks almost like some kind of corrosion took place in this in some areas. Like over here on this ground plane, at least that's what I'm going to suspect this is, a ground plane. You can see that all of that is corroded. I don't think it's an issue because it still makes contact on this side here from what I can see. But that is kind of a little bit concerning as to what could have caused that. So I think I'm also going to go ahead and quickly clean up some of these other parts around here. I'm just going to do that in a time lapse because this video is already going to be pretty long, so I'm just going to do that. Okay, so it's been a few minutes, and I've cleaned off the majority of these parts, mainly focusing on parts like this, and the top piece, and just things like this that make a lot of contact and abrasion with each other, and require a lot of grease that had dried up. And, I also focused a bit on this stepper motor, which had some grease too, and I cleaned this piece up a bit, but this one wasn't really that bad. But anyway, most of these pieces have most of the grease removed, so I think now what we're going to try to do is I'm just going to throw some fresh capacitors, hopefully, on this board. I hope I'll even be able to fit the ones I have in stock, because I am certain that they're not this thin. But I can always bend them over, or, you know, the usual. But basically, yeah, that's what we're going to try to do now. We're going to try to get rid of these old capacitors, and we're going to try to replace them with some brand new ones. So let's go ahead and get started with that. Okay, so, unfortunately, it looks like I'm only going to be able to replace 2 capacitors on here. Unfortunately, the writing on these is very tiny and it's hard to see, but I was able to work out that these two, one of them is a 10 microfarad 16 volts, but unfortunately I only have 25, but 10 microfarad 25 volt will work just fine. We also have a, this one I believe is a 1 microfarad 50 volt, or somewhere in that range, but this should work fine. I'm going to double check this once I get this out, and we'll see if it works. So the first thing I'm going to do here is I'm just going to keep these two legs up, and we're going to pull this capacitor right out of the board, just like so. Should just come straight out. Oh, ow. Okay, no, it doesn't want to. Solder sucker time. So, okay, so I've removed both the original capacitors here, and one of these is in fact a 1 microfarad 50 volt that looks to be pretty beat up. Honestly, I'm not sure if the camera's going to focus on it, but whatever, it's 1 microfarad 50 volt, and then this one is a 10 microfarad 16 volt, like I thought. So, both of those I did get correct. However, the only issue that we have to worry about here is, are we going to be able to have enough clearance on this board to fit both these capacitors? Also, I completely forgot the fact that I kind of needed to remember where they were supposed to go. But, you know, we don't think through things like that here. Oh, God, I'm such an idiot. I just remembered that we have another identical drive that we can literally just check right from here. And judging by this, both of these capacitors have their negatives facing towards each other. And actually, yes, so that verifies that my checking on this meter was correct. And this one is going to be facing the opposite direction. So this capacitor here is facing towards away from the switch as far as the negative is, and the negative on this one is facing away from this switch. So they're both facing inwards towards each other. So that I'm very glad I was able to get that figured out. Otherwise, I don't know what I would have had to do to figure out that information. But anyway, now it's just a matter of, can we get this 50 microfarad flush with the PCB, and that is going to be. I'm really skeptical about that. Yeah, I'm not really sure if this is going to fit on this board. I don't see any reason why this one would not fit. No, this'll fit perfectly, but or very close to perfectly, and we can just fold this one down if not. But this other one here, I'm really not sure. So, first things first, while we have these capacitors off, I am going to clean this PCB because it is disgusting. Oh, stop rolling off the table. Or that way, whatever. I honestly am kind of skeptical if these capacitors are actually leaking or not. I don't think that it's leakage. I think it's just grease and oil and, you know, just the crap that you put on these things. But it could very well be capacitor leakage, and if that's the case, I may have to find replacements for the rest of these capacitors. And, you know, it's very possible, too, because these drives have been known to have leakage issues regarding their capacitors. And considering the fact that this leakage is also around here, although I did clean the rest of the board, yeah, I think that's capacitor leakage, but it very well could also be a million other things. It doesn't help in this situation because we don't really know for sure. But anyway, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this piece back on here just for reference, and maybe also this piece, since it's going to need to clear that. So I think it will be just fine if we put it straight up on this particular specific capacitor. So the negative should be facing that way. We're going to go ahead and cut this extra leadage off, now that we know we're not going to need it. And just a quick thing, oh, what is that? Is that from the alcohol? Whoa. Look at all this white crap here. I don't know what the hell that is. This is insane. Was that there before? I'll have to check the footage and see. I'll let you guys know in the editing process if I'm lazy enough to do that. Okay, so, I apologize, the camera died, but basically, what I've done is, I replaced both of these two capacitors here and here, and, basically what I've, also done here is I partially reassembled the mechanism. As you can tell, it's not completely back together yet, but I've basically just generally thrown the actual moving parts that I'm worried will be affected by this capacitor here that's a little bit tall, just to sort of see if it clears, everything clears fine. And as you can see here, if we just go ahead and normally fling this down, no issue there. It goes all the way down. And if we pop it back up, it comes all the way back up. And if we go ahead and insert a disc here, as you can see, it does clear just fine as well. Very close, though. It just barely squeezes by that taller capacitor there. But fortunately, this drive still works just fine, even with the taller capacitor. So I'd say that everything here is good. However, we're still going to have to take this back apart because we still have to address this corrosion here for whatever this white stuff is. So let's go ahead and do that. I didn't put all the screws back in, thank God, so I don't really have to do terribly too much disassembly here, but it's still a lot to take apart. I mean, this is a pretty complex and very weird, if I'm to be completely honest, drive mechanism that these old Macs use. Honestly, in some cases, I kind of wish they would have just used the standard, PC style 3.5-inch floppy drives. But, you know, when the Macs came out, who knows? By that point, the PCs were still typically running off of 5.25-inch Shugart-based drives, and 3.5-inch ones didn't come around for a while on the PC side. I believe some of these Sony drives, the 400K ones specific, were probably some of the very first 3.5-inch floppy drives. However, apparently nobody really used them that much. Probably for, let me go ahead and turn the fan off, for the reasons that we've seen here. Oh, this looks like it's going to clean right up. I don't even have to wipe that off. This is probably just from when we put the alcohol on this thing earlier, so we'll just make sure to clean this more thoroughly this time. And now it's time for what I originally intended to do in this video, and that is to reflow or figure out what the hell's going on with this solder joint, or with the mechanism. And to do that, we're going to have to, the first thing I'm going to do, I think I see multiple solder joints on all these connectors that look like they might be possibly bad. So I think I'm just going to go around and just reflow everything. I mean, it can't hurt. Okay, the soldering is done, and at this point, I don't think there's really anything else I can do on this board, so I think it's just time to reassemble everything and test it in the Mac Plus. So let's go ahead and do that. So, I have the floppy drive plugged in. I've reassembled it. I had to cut some of that out because my phone died. But anyway, what we're going to do now, I have the mouse plugged into the machine, and I've got it plugged into power back here. And I'm going to go ahead and flip the switch, and we're going to see if the machine comes to life, and most importantly, if the floppy drive still works, and if it does still work, if the eject mechanism works. So, let's see what it does. Okay, so we got a beep. There we go. Okay, so the floppy drive is making a ticking sound. That is a good sign. So I'll go ahead and now I'll go ahead and insert this floppy disk. And it does appear to read, and we do have a Happy Mac here on the screen. As you can see here, it did boot up into the system. We can access some of the programs on here. I forgot just how crisp of a screen this Mac Plus really has. So we got all of our nice System 1.1 programs. This is the Macintosh version System 1.1. We even have the original Finder thing here. And we'll go ahead and do File and Eject. And the same thing. And now it's trying to reinitialize the disk. So that was a bit of a disappointment. Anyway, for now, that's going to be it for today's I'm sure this is going to be over 20 minutes long, but anyway, that's going to be it for today's episode of Crazy Tech Reviews Random Things. One quick thing I would like to mention about this Macintosh Plus in specific that I haven't already mentioned yet is that as of last month, and I'm sorry it's been so long since I've uploaded any videos on the channel, the main one, that is. It's been exactly 1 year since I restored this machine last month. So, honestly, it's had a good run. It's worked for the majority of that period. And the thing too is that these machines will fail over time. I mean, they do require a lot of upkeep to keep them running. But anyway, I figured I'd go ahead and mention that I'm really appreciative of all the support we've gained over this past year on the main channel and this one too, and just everything that's really happened. I mean, it's crazy to think that last year when I restored this Macintosh Plus, just slightly over a year ago, we only had 35 subscribers, and now we have over 265. So, the fact that, oh, and also 14 on this channel, by the way, just to throw that out there. So the fact that in just a year, we've gone from 35 subscribers to 265 subscribers and 14 on this channel, I really can't thank you guys enough for all the support you've given me, and, there's only nowhere else to go but up in terms of that. So, hopefully, next year I'll be able to look back at this project and at, the channel as a whole, and hopefully I'll be able to say that I've gained, several thousand in that period of time. I mean, I don't think that's going to be the case. It'll probably only be several hundred, but still, I mean, I'm just really thankful for all that you guys have allowed me to accomplish regarding this YouTube channel, and I only hope to continue doing these videos as long as I can. And yeah, with that said, this has been another episode of Crazy Tech Reviews Random Things. It's long overdue, and see you guys all in the next one.